is now, and ever shall be, Satan's kingdom without end. And so it is done. Hail Satan! Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
We are talking Anything for Jackson. This one is directed by Justin G. Dick. Yep. And will this be a case of sorry, Miss Jackson, or will it be more of a Jackson 5-star kind of movie? You'll have to watch the end of this review to find out. But let me give you a plot synopsis before we get there. Now, it focuses on an elderly couple played by Sheila McCarthy and Julian Richings. Richings, who you may know, probably most notably as the original Death from the Supernatural series. And they are Satanists, but they're kind of nice Satanists to a certain degree. They're essentially like any kind of middle-aged or elderly couple who, you know, going through life, and they, they have careers and things, but they are Satanists, and they unfortunately have lost their daughter and grandson in an accident that we kind of learn about through the movie, and they desperately miss their grandson and ultimately want to try and bring him back by kidnapping this pregnant woman and trying to resurrect their dead grandson to take the body of the unborn child. And they have got hold of an ancient spell book which they believe gives them the means to do this. However, Satanists they may be, but they're certainly no experts, and they inadvertently maybe unleash something more greater than they could possibly imagine. And there may well be a member of their satanic church who understands a little bit more about what's going on, but does he have his own motivations? So, let's discuss, first of all, what works. I thought this was quite an original idea for a start here. Yes, we've seen plenty of satanic, demonic kind of movies, but they mainly take the form of possession films. And this one isn't really a possession movie as such. It's more the kind of the leading up to the summoning of the demon. But as such, it still has some horror elements within it, but it's much more of a kind of a slow burn style story. But it's kind of, it has its originality, which I did really appreciate. And I really kind of like the fact that our kind of elderly couple, they are Satanists. They worship Satan. They won't, for example, to them when you say the word Jesus, it's blasphemy. But they're not necessarily evil people per se. They just represent they just ultimately believe in Satan and kind of worship him. But they're not, bent on trying to hurt people unnecessarily, things like this. So it gives them a nuance maybe that you don't see in a lot of kind of, bad guy kind of Satanist types in movies, because they just seem to have, a wanton for destruction and will kill anyone without a second thought. These people, they don't necessarily want to go out and harm people, but they will just do what they need to do to try and get their end result without kind of fearing the consequences. And that is, more or less kind of what the LaVeyan Satanism kind of thing was all about, really. It was just kind of, you do things without the fear of consequence rather than being specifically evil and kind of that sort of thing. So it gives it somewhat of a unique dimension and, some interesting sort of characters. And I guess they are antagonists to a degree, but maybe not. But maybe they're not necessarily out-and-out villains, which is an interesting premise here. Our protagonist is this pregnant woman who has been kidnapped and is trying to kind of, suss out what's going on. And I like the fact that she seems to have some smarts on her. She kind of understands what is that they believe is going to happen, and is kind of uses her kind of wiles really to try and make the best of the situation and maybe try and leverage herself in ways rather than just kind of out and out panicking and kind of screaming and stuff like that. So again, I appreciated the character work here, and to go up with that was the acting was all very good. I really enjoyed the kind of this other kind of like this Satanist who they kind of call on for help, who's a little bit more into it, shall we say. And he reminded me of, have you ever seen the movie The Burbs with Tom Hanks? He kind of reminded me of the youngest kind of neighbour who really were Satanists and that and stuff like that. Was kind of quite fun. There are a few supernatural things that happen, and I think most of them were pretty good and quite kind of spooky. And there's a thing, a kind of running theme here with these ghosts that seem to be kind of trapped in the loop. I won't say the reason why they're there. There was only one which I didn't think worked. There's a contortionist guy, and it just looks like a contortionist, if you ask me. He was the one weak one, because he just looked like a guy who's doing contortionist stuff rather than being anything kind of freaky, if that makes sense. Again, I don't want to go too much into spoilers here. But overall, I think the story was good, the character work was good, the acting was good. The pace is slow, which may not be for some. If I have any other complaints outside of, I think this contortionist guy, I didn't think was particularly kind of effective. I think the ending was maybe a little weak. I get what it was trying to do, but ultimately I think it maybe ended on a little bit of a whimper, shall we say, rather than a bang. Again, you could say maybe that, on the flip side, it may well be somewhat of a original style ending to a certain degree, and I do appreciate that. But I have to say, I think some people will feel the ending maybe a little weak. Overall, though, I would suggest if you'd like a slow burn horror movie, it's not necessarily a cerebral horror film as such, but it's certainly one where I think if you like the Exorcist style kind of movies, although it doesn't kind of follow that same story, that was a kind of a slower burn spooky movie. I don't think it's quite as effective as The Exorcist, really, because that really was particularly brutal at its time, and kind of almost like the sense of violence that you got from the demonic forces was palpable with this, and that wasn't really here with that one. But it was still, it's still a similar film in regards to its pacing. And kind of satanic kind of themes and stuff like that. So I would compare it to a certain degree. I'll give this one a 7 out of 10. I think it was well worth a watch if you like a kind of a slower paced satanic supernatural style movies with some original ideas, good performances, and well done characterizations. So a few minor quibbles aside, I think this is well worth a watch. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.